son texted me that I actually thought
I think you'll be
yeah, no, is that right?
Thank you. Thanks for your service.
Stay up on the road. We want to have
Oh, is that right? All right.
All right, guys, we're going to need you to step back a couple steps.
Keep going, keep going.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Angela and Melissa.
How are you? I'm Melissa.
Yeah, my mother said that sounds closest to the heart. Packers, huh?
Yes. Yes, just let them go to the Super Bowl. That's all we want.
By the way, I went to school.
Yeah.
Just south of Green Bay.
Yes, there's my grandfather.
We're all Green Bay fans.
Yes.
And my theology teacher was a guy who got drafted.
I'm right off his granddaughter.
Make a long story short,
I live in his mother's house.
he decides that he's not going to do that. He comes to see
So sorry.
every game that the Packers won.
Everybody.
He got wonderful.
Say, wow,
We all became Packers and everybody else was Eagles.
I wouldn't say them.
Did you really? God love you. Tell that quarterback you got to get your vaccine.
The group on the right, be careful. There are trees behind you.
Stay on the road.
Just the, these are all your prisoners, same block.
He's walking down there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's about 5 blocks so down there.
Yeah, you passed it.
Right next to the funeral.
Coming up. Yeah. The branches are small.
Yeah, be careful, guys. Yep, let's keep going. We're at the back.
It's awesome.
Go,
Keep
man.
going,
I should
guys.
not be in front of you. Go.
See the destructive power or something like that.
No, guys, no standing to the side, guys. We gotta keep moving back. We gotta keep moving back.
Let's go. I'm gonna ruin it until you move.
Going back.
Keep going, guys.
Go to the opposite side of the house. Yeah, by the right or the left? We're gonna go to the left. Okay. All right, guys, we gotta keep going. Come on.
Come on, guys. Keep moving faster than that.
Come on, keep going, guys.
We've had for 13 years. Well, I wouldn't work 100 jobs.
Yeah, watch your backs.
Still building foundation. So we're already working with that company to see what it's going to take to rebuild.
Send me their number. I'll
Yes,
get them
sir.
to commit to it.
Keep going.
We're going to take the insurance from that building that we had and start to rebuild it. We can build them instead of something they can use or something they need.
Heading down right here. By the way,
Out of there, out of there, out of there. Oh, we got to stay up on the road.
Hey, Johnny. Johnny.
I'm sure we'll
Get them back on the road.
The governor,
Guys, keep moving, keep moving.
this. He's been great.
We need you on the road, on the press. Guys on the left side of the road, press. Left side.
If you can get the federal government to be as responsible.
My left. My left. Sorry. Sounds like I think it's our left.
unprecedented.
Keep going.
You've been watching President Biden tour tornado damage in Dawson Springs. He'll be delivering remarks on his administration's response to the storm shortly. We'll bring it to you as soon as it starts. We're going to take a quick break, but we've got a lot more news ahead. You're streaming CBSN, CBS News, always on.
Welcome to CBS Mornings.
Up next, stories you'll be talking about today. That's a big deal.
People stop me on the street and say, I always learn something new every day when I watch your show.
This morning, we're going to begin with some good news.
Oh, you just put me in a good mood.
Just follow me. I'll lead the way.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS.
An original documentary on CBSN.
We need to put an end to this territorial status.
Will statehood create a better Puerto Rico?
So that we have the same quality of life that you see in the States.
What do you worry about?
Me living here in the future.
They're giving incentives to non-Puerto Ricans to come to Puerto Rico
and extract our natural resources and take over our land.
Vacation in Puerto Rico, and in exchange for that, you don't pay taxes.
Why would I allow somebody who abused me for 123 years to then consume me?
An originals documentary on CBSN. Stream now.
If it's important to our nation,
the country is facing yet another unprecedented crisis.
It's on Face the Nation.
You heard the president. Where do you think this stalemate goes from here?
Making politics make sense.
What do you think happened here?
The why behind the biggest stories. Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan on CBS.
An original documentary on CBSN.
50 shows running, the lights blinking.
People fight their entire career to get to Broadway.
You've trained your entire life.
Spotlights, drama, passion.
This is what we live for.
Until COVID turned off the lights.
It's like going from a bright light to pitch black.
Scenes from Broadway's unique struggle with COVID.
It was devastating.
Broadway contributes about $15 billion to New York City's economy and 100,000 jobs.
The sound team, the lighting team, everyone.
The world does not realize how big this is.
This is how we make money.
This is a specialized industry. You don't tell a doctor to go get a serving job. You just, why are we different?
Are we going to be able to pay our rent? Am I going to have food?
What will happen in Broadway's new opening act?
We're in uncharted waters again.
The show must go on.
There is reason to hope again.
I think people are going to be crying. I know I will.
An originals documentary on CBSN. Stream now.
Everything was on fire.
You're left making decisions you don't want to make.
If we're at war at fire, we're going to spend a lot of money, we're going to take a lot of casualties, and we're going to lose. We got to do something about it.
The First Lady and Second Gentleman are heading to Waukesha, Wisconsin this afternoon. The pair will meet with victims, families, and others who were at last month's Christmas parade in downtown Waukesha. 6 people were killed and dozens more were injured when a man drove his car through the crowd. Biden and Emhoff will also meet with the healthcare workers who treated victims and continue to battle the ongoing COVID pandemic. Derek Chauvin has pleaded guilty to federal charges linked to the murder of George Floyd. The former Minneapolis police officer had previously pleaded not guilty to the civil rights charges. He changed it during a hearing this morning in St. Paul, Minnesota. The Justice Department filed the federal charges in May after Chauvin was convicted in state court of murder and manslaughter. Prosecutors will ask that Chauvin receive a prison sentence of 25 years that would be served concurrently with his 22-and-a-half-year state sentence. An autopsy performed on former NFL player Phillip Adams shows he had a, quote, unusually severe form of a degenerative brain disease. Adams allegedly shot and killed 6 people before killing himself back in April. The disease has been linked to head trauma and concussions. It can cause symptoms like aggression, depression, and memory loss. CBS News correspondent Nikki Batiste spoke with the doctor who performed the test to find out how Adams' condition could have led to the killings.
I think there's been a bad shooting.
On April 7th, police say former NFL cornerback Phillip Adams killed prominent physician Robert Leslie, his wife Barbara, 2 of their grandchildren, and 2 technicians working at the Leslie's Rock Hill, South Carolina home. Authorities later found Adams with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Do you think had Phillip Adams never touched a football, he would have never killed anyone?
Yeah, I do.
Dr. Ann McKee led the examination of Adams' brain after his death. She announced Tuesday that her team found the 32-year-old had extensive CTE at the time of his death. She says it was the severe damage to Adams' frontal lobes that was most surprising.
It's caused by repetitive head impacts to the head. Individuals may have trouble with impulse control, decision-making.
Adams was on the field for more than 20 years and suffered 2 concussions. His family told investigators he had memory issues after his retirement in 2015 and told USA Today his mental health was degrading.
There are, of course, a lot of other people who have had CTE who have not committed murder.
Right, absolutely. It's unusual, but it has happened before. And given the level of damage, it's hard for me to imagine that it didn't contribute.
Dr. McKee says Adams' extensive disease compares to that of Aaron Hernandez, another former football player who died by suicide in 2017 after being convicted of murder. Her team diagnosed Hernandez with stage 3 CTE after his death.
And we all love sports. That's not enough reason for us to ignore this.
Nikki Batiste.
Oxford community schools in Michigan are closed for the rest of the week after a threat was made on Tuesday targeting the middle school. Police investigated a threatening image on social media. They gave the all clear for schools to reopen today. But the district has decided to remain closed in response to concern from the community. The threat comes 2 weeks after police say a teenager killed 4 students and injured 7 people in a shooting at the high school. The 15-year-old suspect is charged as an adult with first-degree murder and also faces assault and terrorism charges. The Broward County, Florida School Board has agreed to pay families who lost loved ones in the 2018 school shooting more than $1 million each as a part of a settlement. The school board unanimously voted Tuesday night to approve the $25 million legal settlement. The shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School killed 17 people, including 14 students. Nearly 36 other people were hurt. The survivors will receive smaller pieces of the settlement. This marks the second major settlement connected to this school shooting. The Justice Department also agreed to pay $130 million due to the FBI failures to vet warnings before the massacre. Koalas under threat. Ahead on CBSN, one study is warning the whole species could face extinction if action isn't taken swiftly. You're streaming CBSN, always on.
I'm Nora O'Donnell in our nation's capital. We're here at the White House with the President of the United States.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
The Supreme Court building behind me is once again at the center of a monumental battle. Tonight, a congressional investigation sparked by reporting from CBS News. Our exclusive access to the presidential platform. We will witness yet another moment in history.
The CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell from Washington, D.C.
An original documentary on CBSN.
50 shows running, the lights blinking.
People fight their entire career to get to Broadway.
You've trained your entire life.
Spotlights, drama, passion.
This is what we live for.
Until COVID turned off the lights.
It's like going from a bright light to pitch black.
Scenes from Broadway's unique struggle with COVID.
It was devastating.
Broadway contributes about $15 billion to New York City's economy and 100,000 jobs.
The sound team, the lighting team, everyone.
The world does not realize how big this is.
This is how we make money.
This is a specialized industry. You don't tell a doctor, go get a serving job. You just, why are we different?
Are we going to be able to pay our rent? Am I going to have food?
What will happen in Broadway's new opening act?
We're in uncharted waters again.
The show must go on.
There is reason to hope again.
I think people are going to be crying. I know I will.
An originals documentary on CBSN. Stream now.
Welcome to CBS Mornings.
Up next, stories you'll be talking about today. That's a big deal.
People stop me on the street and say, I always learn something new every day when I watch your show.
This morning, we're going to begin with some good news.
You just put me in a good mood.
Just follow me. I'll lead the way.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS.
Today marks the last day major carriers will be able to ground deliver gifts in time for Christmas. This applies to FedEx and the U.S. Postal Service. UPS says to check its website for estimates. If you're not ready yet, there's still time to get your gift to loved ones. For all three, you have until December 23rd and even Christmas Eve to ship, but there will be added delivery fees. It is no longer a question. Steph Curry is officially the greatest shooter in NBA history.
Here's Curry for the record. It's good! There it is! Stephen Curry, the all-time three-point king in the NBA.
The Golden State Warriors guard hit his 2,974th three-point shot yesterday. The three-time NBA champion will now enter the history books after overtaking Ray Allen for most three-pointers of all time. Officials paused the game, allowing Curry to celebrate this moment with his family and teammates. It took Curry just 13 seasons to achieve the historic feat. The Warriors went on to beat the Knicks 105-96. Koalas in Australia are under threat as the country prepared for another potentially severe fire season. Scientists and conservationists are rushing to help protect the furry creatures and save their habitat. CBS's Tina Kraus has more.
These are memories Australians and koalas would like to leave behind. But forecasters predict another fierce fire season, putting the tree-climbing creatures at risk once again.
So traditionally, koalas would be able to head to the top of a tree and escape a low-burning fire. But when they move so quickly and so fast like that, there's not as much opportunity to avoid them and escape them.
More than 60,000 of the treasured national icons were either killed, injured, or displaced during wildfires over the last couple of years. Conservationists say koalas are now struggling to survive because they're losing their habitat as more trees are cut down and areas are built up.
We are the problem, and we need to do a lot better to help these guys live where they live, because they were here before us.
Climate change is also a threat as koalas struggle with heat-related stress and dehydration.
This is unprecedented, and we're in tipping point times. And all these things eventually will have major impact, not just on koalas, but all the other animals that live in the same habitat.
Campaigners are urging Australia's government to plant more trees and protect more land to help save the home of one of the country's most adored animals. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
A nationwide cream cheese shortage is threatening a popular holiday treat. Kraft Heinz will pay its customers $20 not to make cheesecake. Supply chain issues are making the necessary ingredient hard to come by. The company is reimbursing thousands, trying to convince them to bake or purchase another dessert. Individuals can sign up for the digital reward at spreadthefeeling.com beginning at noon on Friday. Coming up in our next hour, surveying the damage. President Biden is in Kentucky to examine the path of destruction left behind by a string of tornadoes. His promises to the people now working to rebuild. Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is the latest Trump advisor to face contempt of Congress charges. How the committee investigating January 6th is using all the tools at their disposal to get the answers they want. Plus, fighting inflation. The Federal Reserve is laying out its plan to cap rising costs. Why it could be a while before prices go down. Those stories and much more when we return. You're streaming CBSN.
I'm Nora O'Donnell in our nation's capital. We're here at the White House with the President of the United States.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
The Supreme Court building behind me is once again at the center of a monumental battle. Tonight, a congressional investigation sparked by reporting from CBS News. Our exclusive access to the presidential platform. We will witness yet another moment in history.
The CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell from Washington, D.C.
An an original documentary on CBSN.
50 shows running, the lights blinking.
People fight their entire career to get to Broadway.
You've trained your entire life.
Spotlights, drama, passion.
This is what we live for.
Until COVID turned off the lights.
It was like going from a bright light to pitch black.
Scenes from Broadway's unique struggle with COVID.
It was devastating.
Broadway contributes about $15 billion to New York City's economy and 100,000 jobs.
The sound team, the lighting team, everyone.
The world does not realize how big this is.
This is how we make money.
This is a specialized industry. You don't tell a doctor, go get a serving job. You just, why are we different?
Are we going to be able to pay our rent? Am I going to have food?
What will happen in Broadway's new opening act?
We're in uncharted waters again.
The show must go on.
There is reason to hope again.
I think people are going to be crying. I know I will.
An originals documentary on CBSN. Stream now.
Welcome to CBS Mornings.
Up next, stories you'll be talking about today. That's a big deal.
People stop me on the street and say, I always learn something new every day when I watch your show.
This morning we're going to begin with some good news.
Oh, you just put me in a good mood.
Just follow me. I'll lead the way.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS.
Surveying the damage, President Biden is in Kentucky touring the devastation from last week's deadly tornado outbreak. The U.S. has passed 800,000 lives lost to COVID-19. Today, health officials say they are concerned about the new variant spreading across the country. And a shift in the economic recovery. The Fed signals a change in its stance on pandemic programs and interest rates. Hi, everyone. I'm Elise Preston. Thanks for joining us. We have a packed hour of news for you. In about 20 minutes, the House votes to hold former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows in criminal contempt of Congress. We look at if he could face criminal charges. And later, the efforts to fight a newly revealed cyber vulnerability that could impact millions of servers across the country. President Biden is visiting areas in Kentucky devastated by tornadoes. The president is making stops in Fort Campbell, Dawson Springs, and Mayfield. Mayfield is where a candle factory was flattened by the storms, killing at least 8 workers. The president approved a major disaster declaration for the state, expediting the distribution of aid and resources. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says this has been the worst storm to hit Kentucky in his lifetime. He praised the president for his, quote, rapid support. Tornadoes on Friday and Saturday killed at least 88 people across 6 states. 74 of those people were in Kentucky. The state's Governor Andy Beshear also says more than 100 people are still missing. We want to bring in CBS News political contributor and White House reporter for The Washington Post, Sean Sullivan. Sean, nice to see you. You're in Kentucky covering the president's trip today. First, what are you seeing in terms of the devastation and the recovery process on the ground?
Well, the president, Elise, got a first-hand glimpse earlier this morning when he arrived in Kentucky of the sheer devastation that all across the country Americans have been looking at over the past several days. It's a busy day for the president. He landed.
We want to take you now to Dawson Springs, Kentucky, where President Biden has been touring the tornado damage from last week's deadly outbreak. He is with Governor Andy Beshear.
To thank God it's still standing. Not too far from here. My granddad would put me on his tractor and drive me around town, which is a pretty big deal for a little kiddo. I buried my kin right here in town, just down the road. To me, this was always a safe place. Bad things did not happen here until Saturday. If you look around here, or Mayfield, in Muhlenberg County and a number of other towns, you might think that we are broken. but we are not. In Kentucky, we are good people. We love one another, and we lean on one another. We open our homes to those in need, not just today, but every day. And we will repair our homes, our businesses, and we will repair our lives. We will do all of that together. As a people, we're not alone. The generosity and outpouring of love, pure, unconditional love from around this country and around this world has been overwhelming. Millions of dollars and more water, diapers, sweatshirts, household goods than we could ever count have poured in. As a state, we are also not alone. President Biden and the federal government have offered more aid and acted faster than we have ever seen in the history of the United States of America. I received 3 personal calls from the president on day 1. First, when he could get through, and then at the end of the day, saying, what else do you need? We got an immediate disaster declaration, which doesn't happen. And just, I think on the same day, not even a full day later, a major disaster declaration. And you know what? Starting yesterday, there were people here in FEMA shirts walking house to house to start processing people's claims to get them back on their feet. We've gone from looking for our dead to starting to haul away the death and destruction around us. And the steps to start rebuilding have already begun. I cannot thank the president enough. And I know our federal delegation feels the same way. They have been hugely supportive. Thank you, Congressman Comer, for being strong for this community and for pushing for everything we need in Washington, D.C. You've been a wonderful partner. I hope the people of Kentucky know that I care deeply about them, and the president does too. He's here in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, because we're hurting. I am so thankful for the full, unwavering support of our federal delegation. I'm so thankful for the president that has said yes to every ask we've made. And you know, he's going to have some news about another ask that I made. One that I thought there was no way that we could get a yes to. But it's going to mean the federal government isn't just here, isn't just doing things we've never seen before, but is fully behind every single family that has suffered any loss. On behalf of Brittany and I, to the people of Kentucky, we love you. And I never thought in my life I'd be able to introduce a president. And I wish there were different circumstances. But I'm still very honored to be able to introduce a president in my dad's hometown, President Joe Biden.
Gov, thank you. I want to introduce you a new friend of mine. This is Dane. Dane lived down the street. And Dane and he has cousins who are all together. And one cousin, I don't know where she is. There she is. Come on up here, honey. Can you see me? Come here. She is about to graduate from UK on Friday. And I just want you to meet him. I'm sorry to keep you all waiting, but I got a chance to hang out with the whole extended family down there. And I want you to meet a soon-to-be graduate who wants to go on to graduate school. Come on up here, hon.
And we're proud of you. We're proud of you.
What's your first name?
Abby.
Abby is here, and we're going to figure something special for her graduation day. But imagine that. This Friday, she graduates from UK. I kid and say the best thing that ever came out of Kentucky was my sister-in-law. And she's all blue. She went to UK, then she went to Duke Law School, and she married my brother. We're all thankful to everybody for her marrying my brother. And at any rate, so you got to remember me when you're president, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you. I just want you to meet the folks I was just hanging with. Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
Andy, thank you, Gov, for the introduction. Your forbearance is commendable. This has to be an emotional moment for you, the family, for the congressman, for all of you congressmen. Thanks for the passport into your district. Appreciate it. And I want to also thank everyone here that took the time to be here. And one of the things back in the 1900s, Dawson Springs was a place where people came to be healed because of the mineral waters. Literally, it was a place you came to heal. Now it's our turn to help the entire town to heal. You know, I granted the request for the first emergency declaration and major disaster declaration the moment I received it, because I got to know the governor's father, and I knew nothing would come that wasn't real. I mean it, for real. And, yesterday I also approved an emergency declaration for the state of Illinois and Tennessee. And I intend to do whatever it takes as long as it takes to support your state, your local leaders, and as you recover and rebuild, because you will recover and you will rebuild. You know, the scope and scale of this destruction is almost beyond belief. When you look around here, it's just almost beyond belief. These tornadoes devoured everything in their path. And, as I flew over here in the helicopter, you can look down and you see a house 20 yards away from a house that's devastated, and the house is in good shape. I mean, it's just tornadoes are such devastating storms. Back where I'm from, we're used to hurricanes and floods and high water, but these tornadoes are just something totally different. And they're not, you devoured everything in the path, your homes, your businesses, your houses of worship, your dreams, your lives. And the governor confirmed there, I think you said 74 fatalities so far, Gov, in Kentucky, and making these among the deadliest tornadoes to ever strike this state. Almost 14 people are confirmed dead in other states, with dozens of people still fearful of where they are. I met one, I don't have permission to use their name, but I met one couple on the way up, said they're still looking for 4 of their friends. They don't know where they are. And those who have lost someone, there's no words for the pain of losing someone. A lot of us know it. A lot of us understand it, especially around the holidays when everything's supposed to be happy and joyful. It was a long time ago. I got a phone call around the holidays and found out that I was in Washington as a young senator, not sworn in yet, about to be hiring staff, and I got a call saying from a first responder that there'd been an accident. A tractor trailer broadside at my wife with a Christmas tree on top and my 3 kids inside. My wife and daughter are dead. But my mother, God love her, used to always say, out of everything terrible, something good will happen. Something good has to happen out of this. It just can't be all bad. We've got to make it better. And so, folks, those who have lost someone know how tough it is. And you know how tough it is. In Mayfield, just hours before the storm, we just came from Mayfield, the Gibson Pharmacy had been full of families with children waiting to meet Santa. Now it's completely gone. And so many businesses are vital to the community have been so damaged and destroyed, in your town as well. There's a saying in small towns, people know about it when you're born, and they care about it when you die. They know about it when you're born, and they care about it when you die. Well, in so many places, destruction was met with compassion. Neighbors and first responders racing to help and save each other's lives and support. I mean, I'm not joking. I asked when I got to Mayfield, what the first thing my first responders, FEMA, what they heard. They said they were amazed. All they heard was about people just going out helping one another. Everybody, just stepping up. It's incredible. It's incredible how you all step up. And so, folks, the fact is I'm going to make sure the federal government steps up and makes sure we do every single thing. For years and years, as U.S. Senator and then as Vice President, I come from Delaware, we have a lot of serious storms. hurricanes, oceans rising, a whole range of things. But you know what? It always took a long time. There's no reason why it should take any time. We have the wherewithal to get it done. And we're going to get every single thing you need. And I'm going to make sure the federal government does what's needed. At the state's request, 4 FEMA search and rescue teams are working here in Kentucky right now. For those without power, FEMA's already provided 61 generators. The Army Corps of Engineers has a temporary power install teams ready to assist if needed. And we provided critical supplies thus far, and a lot more to come. 144,000 liters of drinking water, 24,000 meals, I just 74,000. And look, thousands of cots and blankets. There are seven shelters open in Kentucky, which are now taking care of 300 occupants, but a lot more is going to occur. Of course, housing is a key. Because of COVID, we want to make sure people are out of those shelters as quickly as they can because of COVID, and ultimately want to start to provide some certainty for people. I've been involved in responding to a lot of disasters, and you can see it in people's faces. What they're really looking for, and look around, I say to the press, what they're looking for is just to be able to put their head down on a pillow, be able to close their eyes, take a deep breath, go to sleep, and make sure their kids are okay. That's what people are looking for right now. But a lot of hard work is going to happen in the next 2 and 3 months to bring it all the way back. And so, folks, the governor, I want to provide you the certainty as well. I just approved the request that I wasn't sure I had the authority to do, but turns out I do. The government's going to cover 100% of the cost. 100% of the cost for the first 30 days for all the emergency work, from clearing everything to every single cost the federal government's going to take care of. And it includes debris removal, cost of overtime and law enforcement, emergency service personnel, and shelter. And that'll get you through. And by the way, I want to thank your wife. She started a toy drive for this part of the state to make sure, how many, come here. I'm taking credit for something I have nothing to do with.
How could you?
But tell them what you got so far.
Well, as of this morning, we think that we have around 20,000 gifts donated, and we've got 3 more days to go.
20,000 gifts, so no kid's going to go to sleep wherever they get to sleep tonight without a gift. God love you. And look, we also need to recognize that people have suffered mental and emotional injuries. The cost of this sometimes are unseen and unknown. People talk about post-traumatic stress in the battlefield as I travel through Afghanistan and Iraq. Well, guess what? There's a lot of post-traumatic stress that comes from lying in your house and all of a sudden the roof goes blowing off and you wonder whether your kids are around. I really mean it. So, where the shock of losing a home and a business, the grief of losing someone, it's happening right before the holidays, as I said, and we're going to make sure that you have all the help you need, including the kind of mental help that's needed to help people through difficult times. And folks, the FEMA has opened mobile disaster recovery centers in Mayfield and in Dawson Springs, and it has disaster survivor assistance teams on the ground here in Kentucky to help people register for assistance. As I said when I talked to the governor, not only that we're going to get what you need, we're going to make sure you know everything's available, because you don't always know all that is available. And that's what we're going to do. And folks, if you live in infected areas, which all of you are standing here watching me do, you visit disasterassistance.gov, or call 1-800-621-FEMA. That's 1-800-621-3362. I promise you, you're going to heal, we're going to recover, you're going to rebuild, you're going to be stronger than you were before. We're going to build back better than it was. And when I come back, I got one beautiful lady and her husband promised me a meal. She's apparently a hell of a cook, so I'm coming back for the meal. So thank you for being here. And to all the families here, keep the faith. We're going to get this done. I promise you, the governor's not walking away, your county judge is not walking away, your congressman's not walking away, no one's walking away. We're in this for the long haul. Thank you very much for your patience. Not now. We don't need it yet. We don't need it now. You know, there has been, because of weather disasters, just this year, over $99 billion in losses. $99 billion in losses. And as I flew over, I was telling folks here, as I was out with the governor of California and Idaho and other states, as you fly over those territories for the better part of an hour, looking down, every single solitary thing is leveled because of the fires. Nothing there. The forest, the homes, the businesses. And guess what? So much area has burned this year because of weather and climate changes that is larger than the entire state of New Jersey. The entire state of New Jersey. That's how much land has been burned to the ground. So we got a lot to do. We got a lot to do, but the American people are ready to do it. This is the United States of America. There's not a darn thing we can't do. Thank you.
We've been watching President Joe Biden speak in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, after a day of touring the tornado damage. The president promised the state the full support of the government, announcing actually the federal government would cover 100% of the cost for cleanup and recovery for the first 30 days. We also heard from Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who was very emotional when he thanked the president for the quick action and said the long recovery is already underway. We're going to take a quick break, but stay with us. You're streaming CBSN Always On.
Welcome to CBS Mornings.
Up next, stories you'll be talking about today. That's a big deal.
People stop me on the street and say, I always learn something new every day when I watch your show.
This morning, we're going to begin with some good news.
Oh, you just put me in a good mood.
Just follow me. I'll lead the way.